Welcome to Michelle's on a Mission, a podcast all about helping you become your best version. We'll discuss personal development, education, self-love, self-care, and more.
It's honest, it's informative, it's helped me grow as a person.
The mission is greatness, the journey starts here. And now here's your host, Michelle.
Hey everybody, it is Michelle's on a Mission. Thank you guys for joining me again. I know it has been a minute, but I am back, and today I want to talk to you about some tips for the virtual learning environment. I know with the pandemic going on and school getting ready to start, there have been so many parents that have opted to let their children do virtual learning instead of going back into a brick and mortar building, which is quite understandable. So school is going to look very different this year for a lot of people, and I thought it would be wise to do some tips for virtual learning. So before I get into the tips, I just want to give you a little bit about my credentials. I am a licensed teacher in the state of Arkansas. I have been licensed since 2004. I taught school from 2004 until 2015 with my license in 7th through 12 secondary English. So I taught 7th grade, and I also taught middle school, and I taught 10th grade English before leaving the classroom. When I did leave the classroom, I took a job as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the Division of Youth Services. So I was basically in charge of making sure that their curriculum was up to par, that teachers were doing what they were supposed to do in the 7 facilities that housed youth that were incarcerated, for lack of a better word. When I left that job, I actually ran a facility for about 2 years, but now I am currently a program advisor with the Arkansas Department of Education. So I do have some knowledge of what goes on in a classroom, and I would just like to think of this as the learning expectations still stay the same. The only thing that changes is the location of where the children are doing their learning. And so I do want to start off by making note that everybody's home situation is different. There are going to be some kids that are at home with their parents. They have parents that do not work, so they will be able to be there with them while this is going on. But then you also have kids whose parents work, and so this may be a little difficult for them. And so, everybody's home situation is different. And so I hope that you can just take these tips regardless of whichever your home situation is. And hopefully it will help you guys to have a good, successful start of the year, and hopefully a good school year, period, if you have to continue virtual the rest of the year. So tip number 1 is to make sure that you set a schedule. I know a lot of kids are probably going to be thinking that they're still at home and they're probably still going to try to be on this summer schedule. A summer schedule that actually kind of started back in March when they first went home. But they have to get back used to going to bed at a certain time, eating dinner at a certain time, getting up at a certain time, as if they are going to this physical building. You're going to need to keep that schedule, and that's going to help them while they are getting used to doing school at home. Like I said, they need to understand that nothing has really changed about the learning expectation. The only thing that's changing is the place that they are learning from. And so along the line of the scheduling, you're also going to want to make sure that they have time for breaks during the school day. We are adults, and when we go to work, we definitely want a break. And so if grown people want a break, kids want a break too. And it's necessary, and it needs to be built into that time, just as if they were going to school regularly. Because high school students, they usually have 5 minutes in between classes, and that's their social time. And so we want to make sure that those breaks are in built in throughout the day. Also, if you have small children, smaller children are used to having a recess. And so, however the school has their schedule set for kids to do their recess time, you want to make sure that you allow your little ones to have that time as well, that free time to move about and kind of do some of the things that they would normally do if they were at a recess: run, jump, move around. because it's important. Okay, so for tip 2, you want to make sure that you get to know your child's teacher or teachers. When they get up in the older grades, they have more than one teacher, and you want to make sure that you know who they are. You want to make sure that there's an open line of communication, that you have a way to get in touch with them, and that they also have a way to get in touch with you. Now, what I'm going to say here is very important. If you have an email address that's something like juicybooty22@gmail.com, you might want to get rid of that. Or maybe not get rid of it, but at least get one that's more appropriate for your child and the teacher. Because you don't want your child's teacher, judging your child based on your email address. And you don't want them judging you. So go ahead and start a new email address that's more appropriate. And if nothing else, use it for communication with your teachers and other school officials. Having that open line of communication lets the teacher know that you support your child and you're willing to do whatever you need to do to support them, and it just gives you that option of being able to talk with them in case they need you or you need them or your child needs them. So, tip number 3, you want to find a central location in your home for your child to have school. You don't want them getting up in the morning time, putting their laptop in their bed and trying to do their work. They're not going to be productive in that. So you want to find a place that's brightly lit, that has plenty of room where they can set up their laptop or their Chromebooks, have out their regular textbooks, notebooks, pen, paper, whatever. So it definitely has to be adequate space. It needs to be comfortable. It needs to be in a place where there's not much noise, and also where there are very few distractions. And so tip 4, speaking of distractions, you need to try to take your child's cell phone if they have one during that school time. You don't want them busy on the phone trying to see what their friends are doing while they should be paying attention in class. So let's try to remove some of those distractions. Do not set up their centralized location in a room where there's television or there's radio. Now, we do know that children know how to surf the internet and go to other things while they are supposed to be studying. And I'm not sure if schools will have some type of system that blocks them from going into anything else once they are online doing their work. But if not, this is a good time to have a talk with your student and to make sure that they understand that they are on an honor system and that school time is just for that school, and they have time after school to do the things that they would normally do on the internet. They definitely need to be paying attention because, again, like I said before, the only thing that changes is the location. The learning expectation is still there. So, tip 5, you want to pay attention to your child. Ask questions about their day. Ask questions about their teacher. Find out what's going on in their head, because the truth of the matter is this is a different kind of year for them, and it may be difficult for some students. Some students will thrive at virtual learning and they won't have a problem with it. The classes will come easily to them. They'll understand how to navigate the computer, how to get in touch with their teachers and all of that. But then you're going to have some students that are going to have a very difficult time. And you can't berate them for that because it is a different day. School is totally different than what they're used to. They're going to be missing some of that social interaction that they would normally get, and that's understandable. So, as a parent, it will be a really good idea to kind of have check ins with your child just to see where they are. Because if they are experiencing some difficulty, if you go back to tip number 2, making sure that you know your child's teacher and having access to them, if you see that something is wrong or there's some slight problem, you can always get in touch with that teacher or other school officials and find out what you guys can do to support that student and to make that virtual learning environment better. And so the final tip that I want to give is that if you are working with your child and they are doing virtual learning and they are having some difficulties, If there are any tutoring resources available, I would highly suggest that you take advantage of them, because some students are going to need that extra help, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would look for free resources, and if you can't find free resources, I will reach out to teachers, school officials, and find out if they know of anybody that will be doing any tutoring services. And some schools actually offer tutoring services themselves. I will say that because most things are going to be on the computer, you don't want to bombard them with school for 8 hours and then tutoring for 2 hours, where they only have enough time to eat, take a bath, and go to bed and get up and do it all over again. There are going to be some students that are going to have some difficulty, but you don't want to take their whole life away from them, because like I said, this is a new day and things are going to be completely different than what they did last school year. And so those are the tips that I have for you guys. I'm really hoping and praying that there is going to be a successful school year for you and your student. If you need anything, I will be dropping my email address below. I also offer tutoring services for English. It does not really matter what grades, but I will drop my email address below. And if you would like to contact me, you are absolutely welcome to do so. You guys have a great, great, great school year. And I will see you next podcast. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Michelle's on a Mission. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, make sure to check us out at Gold Crown Creations on Facebook and Instagram, or reach out to us directly at www.goldcrowncreations.org. Until next time, take care.